wants to see him go to heavyweight. And when we were talking to him tonight, he doesn't give a shit. He said, I'll fight at heavyweight. I'll fight wherever you want, whenever you want. He's ready to turn around and wants to fight again right away. So he's that guy. He's a savage, man. The guy's an absolute stud. And not to mention the fact that he's a smart guy and realizes time isn't your friend in this game. And get in there, accomplish as many great things as you can. Like you guys were saying, whoever said it earlier, look at what a huge star he's become in such a short amount of time, because people in the fight business love guys who want to fight, love guys who want to finish, love guys who want to compete. As a fight fan, he's like the ideal fighter that you would follow and become a fan of.
Okay.
Those parts.
Okay.
It's a featherweight, 242.4. Heavyweight. 242.4. Alex Pereira.
When you look at the challenges ahead, the contenders that are waiting to come and challenge you for that belt, what is the one that makes the most sense for you?
Ainda ninguém na minha mente. Eu falei aqui, eu queria ir fazer a luta no peso pesado, desafio maior, era isso.
No one in mind yet. As I said, I want to have a bigger challenge at heavyweight, and that's basically it.
But realistically, he's done it all. He knocked out Magomed Ankalaev in 69, 59 seconds, whatever it was. He smoked him. It was very, very fast, okay? And the man is gigantic, and he's not getting any younger. And of course, we'll have the whole situation with Tom Aspinall. Now, you might have seen this post that was doing the rounds recently, okay? A couple of days ago, I saw something. It was very alarming. People all over Twitter, Josh Thompson was one of them. So I thought there was some credibility to this. They said that the UFC...
The MMA world is buzzing as Alex Pereira, the man who has already conquered 2 divisions, officially declares his intent to move to heavyweight. Dana White describes Pereira as a savage and an absolute stud, noting that the fighter doesn't care about the opponent or timing. He just wants to fight. His rapid rise to stardom is attributed to his relentless desire to finish fights and compete. Pereira has confirmed that he is not interested in warm-up fights or slowly climbing the heavyweight ladder. He is laser-focused on Tom Aspinall's championship belt. This move is framed as a calculated power play for immortal status, bypassing the brutal weight cuts of the light heavyweight division to challenge the raw mass and grappling threats of the heavyweight giants. Stepping into the land of giants presents a unique challenge for Pereira. While his striking is surgical and elite, there are questions about whether his knockout power will carry the same weight against behemoths who outweigh him by 40 pounds. The octagon is expected to test his fight IQ and adaptability as he faces opponents who hit like a charging rhino. Rumors suggest that the UFC asked Tom Aspinall to vacate his title while he recovered from surgery, but Aspinall reportedly countered by saying he would only do so if he were released from his contract.
Last fight with Cyril Gane, where he did get eye poked, and it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. He shouldn't be getting any shit or any blame here. But he is, which is just weird, right?
The reports are out that the UFC asked Tom Aspinall to vacate the title until he was ready to go. He said he'd be willing to vacate the title as long as they released him. Now, that opens the door so he can go ahead and box.
But he just had surgery, okay? And he isn't going to be fighting anytime soon. And when they said they went to Tom and asked him to vacate...
Pereira, heavyweight.
...to pursue boxing. However, these rumors are dismissed as false, with confirmation that Aspinall remains the heavyweight champion and is focused on his UFC comeback. Pereira's pursuit of a 3rd divisional title is a move that could cement his name in the pantheon of combat sports legends forever. This audacious power play is set to shake up the heavyweight hierarchy, especially with a promoter like Dana White who thrives on unprecedented megafights. Reflecting on Pereira's recent history, his dominance in the light heavyweight division is highlighted by his ability to secure victories even while fighting with a broken hand. This is cited as evidence of his elite fight IQ and unbreakable will. The UFC is currently leaning heavily into spectacle matchups, with fans and promoters alike looking for massive cross-divisional fights. Whether it's John Jones versus Alex Pereira or Pereira versus Cyril Gane for an interim title, the goal is to create global events that push the sport forward. Pereira's move isn't just a weight class jump, it's described as an unapologetic declaration of war. For a man who cuts weight heavily to make 205 pounds, the shift to heavyweight is a liberation. Targeting the reigning top champion immediately is seen as an extreme championship mindset. Tom Aspinall has expressed a complicated...
Okay, whilst the division moves on, and when you're ready to come back, you fight for the belt straight away. And the rumor was that he said, I'll do that as long as you release me from my contract so I can go unboxed, right? And everyone was saying, oh, this is really happening. Turns out it's not. It's bullshit, okay?
This is #1 bullshit.
Tom's waiting to make his comeback. He's still very much the heavyweight champion of the world. The third champion to come from England. Shout out Big Tom. And I'm looking forward to the comeback. Now, because of that, that's when Alex Pereira comes into the fold and he says 1, 2, 3 and go, right?
Complicated relationship with the sport, stating that while he loves MMA, he hates the business because fighters are often viewed as replaceable. This adds psychological depth to his upcoming defense. Pereira's entry into heavyweight is described as a psychological bomb for Aspinall's camp. His unshakable belief and championship mentality are said to challenge opponents before they even enter the cage. While the business side of the UFC promotes stars and storylines, the reality inside the cage is different. Once the door closes, legacy and hype don't matter, only performance. Pereira must prove his striking can survive the power of a natural heavyweight champion like Aspinall. The fight business continues regardless of injuries or setbacks. The UFC will keep booking major fights because the show must go on, independent of individual circumstances. Pereira's move is sending shockwaves through the heavyweight division. After nearly killing himself to make 205 pounds, a fully unburdened Pereira bringing his knockout power to heavyweight is a terrifying prospect for the entire division. With John Jones potentially retiring due to health issues and Pereira having cleared out top contenders at
$1.7 billion. They want spectacles. They want fights like the White House. They want John Jones versus Alex Pereira. Or, as I always said, Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane for an interim title. Now, I don't know what's going on with the whole stuff with Tom. Apparently, he came out and he said, I'm still very much the champion. That's great to hear. Do not walk away from this sport, Tom. Do not let the fans get to you. Right?
The core mystery of the Strickland versus Chimaev matchup lies in the fascinating clash of two deeply ingrained, almost automatic fighting habits that have defined both men's careers. Khamzat Chimaev has developed what many analysts call an automatic takedown game, a lightning-quick chain wrestling sequence that he has successfully landed on virtually every opponent he has faced so far. Whether it's a blast double leg, a body lock, or a slick transition from a failed shot into a scramble, Chimaev's ability to close distance and drag fights to the mat has become his signature weapon. On the opposite side stands Sean Strickland, a fighter notorious for his refusal to stay down. Even when taken down cleanly, Strickland has an almost instinctive ability to immediately pop back up, reset his stance, and force the fight back to the feet where he feels most comfortable. This creates a compelling tactical puzzle. Can Chimaev's relentless chain wrestling finally break Strickland's legendary get-up game, or will Strickland's durability and scramble awareness allow him to neutralize the takedowns and drag the bout into the stand-up battle he prefers? The entire fight may hinge on this single recurring battle, one man's takedown obsession versus the other man's unbreakable habit of returning to his feet. What makes this matchup so intriguing is how both fighters have built their entire game plans around these specific tendencies. Chimaev enters every fight expecting to impose his wrestling early and often, while Strickland walks into the octagon fully confident that no one will be able to keep him down for long. This collision of styles promises a fascinating chess match where the first fighter to force the other out of their comfort zone.
Man in all of mixed martial arts, because I was a little shit back in the day.
Well, Bisping's just a dick.
But the fans of mixed martial arts, just like any sports, they're very fickle, okay? Right? Love you all, by the way. Now, here is what Tom posted recently, and I just want to talk about this quickly. He said, I love mixed martial arts. I'll never stop loving it, but I just hate the business. I think that fighters are completely replaceable.
Alex will likely seize control of the fight. Fans and analysts alike are divided because both approaches have proven extremely successful against high-level competition, making it difficult to predict which habit will crack first under the bright lights of a pay-per-view main event. Demetrius Johnson provides a direct and insightful assessment of Sean Strickland's fighting style, describing it as fundamentally simple, predictable, yet highly effective in its own way. According to the former flyweight and bantamweight champion, Strickland does not rely on explosive entries, wild looping combinations, or flashy techniques that many modern fighters favor. Instead, he operates with a slow, deliberate, and steady pace that is driven primarily by a piston-like jab and a well-timed push kick used to control distance and dictate the rhythm of the fight. This methodical approach allows Strickland to maintain range, frustrate aggressive opponents, and slowly break them down over the course of 15 or 25 minutes. While some critics dismiss this style as basic or even boring, Johnson highlights how its very simplicity makes it difficult to counter effectively, especially when paired with Strickland's iron chin and elite cardio. The predictability becomes an asset rather than a weakness because opponents often struggle to find the right timing to close the distance without eating a constant stream of jabs and teeps. This breakdown from one of the greatest technical minds in MMA history offers a clear window.
You do feel like the whole world has turned on you, and certainly when he wasn't the person at fault, he wasn't. But this is the world that we live in. It just is. The show must go on. I went through multiple eye surgeries. I wasn't in constant communication with the UFC. They weren't calling on me and checking on me. The only time I got a phone call off Dana White was when he called me, and I'm not talking shit, by the way. They got a business to run. They got a worldwide massive corporation to run, putting on the best fights on the planet, okay? And if someone gets hurt, well, then that's a real shame.
Into why Strickland has been so successful against much more athletic and explosive strikers. Johnson's analysis reveals that Strickland's game is built on consistency and discipline rather than athletic fireworks. By sticking to his fundamentals and refusing to deviate from his game plan, Strickland forces opponents into uncomfortable positions where they must either respect his jab or risk walking into counters. This approach has allowed him to outlast and outpoint fighters who appeared far more dangerous on paper, proving that in MMA, a well-executed simple strategy can often defeat a more complex but less disciplined one. The unique pacing of Sean Strickland's fights can be largely attributed to his unorthodox and extremely demanding training regimen. Unlike many fighters who treat sparring as a secondary part of camp, Strickland is known to spend an extraordinary amount of time actually sparring hard in the gym, often going multiple long rounds with fresh partners on a near-daily basis. This constant exposure to live high-intensity fighting has shaped his octagon performances into something that closely resembles an extended, high-level sparring session rather than the frantic, desperate, high-stakes brawl many fans expect in championship-level MMA. Because he is so accustomed to maintaining a steady output over long periods, Strickland rarely panics when the fight becomes chaotic.
A sport, and in the world of boxing, people die. I talk about that all the time. The sport of boxing still moves on. If you get hurt at work and you can't do your job on a Monday morning, the business still continues. Their factory still goes on. The milk still gets delivered. The cow still gets slaughtered, right? Whatever it is, Amazon drivers are still making the deliveries. Just because John, your usual driver, twists his ankle and can't go to work, the show still goes on. I am not being unsympathetic.
You hear the show goes on?
He stays composed, continues circling, and methodically picks his shots even when under pressure. This training philosophy gives him a significant mental and physical edge in later rounds, where opponents who rely more on explosive bursts often begin to fade. The result is a fighter who looks almost relaxed in the cage, cruising at a pace that feels comfortable to him but exhausting to others. Many analysts believe this is one of the most underrated factors in Strickland's success and longevity at the highest level of the sport. His ability to treat a 5-round title fight like just another day in the gym allows him to conserve energy and maintain technical sharpness when others are gasping for air. This approach also builds tremendous mental toughness, as Strickland has essentially trained himself to stay calm and composed under sustained pressure for extended periods. T.J. Dillashaw highlights the incredibly annoying nature of Sean Strickland's defensive style, pointing out how he uses his hands in a highly repetitive, almost programmed way to parry and deflect incoming punches. Strickland's hand-fighting defense has become one of his trademarks, constantly pawing, blocking, and redirecting strikes before they can land cleanly. While this approach has proven remarkably effective against a wide range of opponents, Dillashaw suggests that its repetitive nature also creates specific technical openings that a patient and intelligent fighter can eventually exploit.
I'm saying about Alex Pereira, if he isn't fighting anytime soon, and it certainly doesn't look like he's fighting anytime soon, then this 1, 2, 3, and go from Alex Pereira.
You thought LHW was...
Arman Tsarukyan's bombshell announcement has sent shockwaves through the lightweight division, officially confirming his status as the backup fighter for the monumental clash between Justin Gaethje and Ilia Topuria. This is far more than a simple, maybe, scenario. Tsarukyan is now officially primed and ready to step in on short notice if the main event encounters any hurdles. If called upon, his entry would inject absolute chaos and unparalleled excitement into the event, simultaneously solidifying his crystal-clear path to championship gold and keeping his title aspirations completely dependent on remaining razor-sharp for an unexpected curveball. Behind the scenes, Tsarukyan's relationship with the UFC brass is complex and fascinating. While he confidently expects to fight the winner of the Gaethje Topuria bout, he also cryptically hints at different plans, and alternative scenarios strictly mapped out by the promotion. He maintains a tightly coached secrecy about these alternatives, suggesting that the UFC has intricate, multi-layered strategies for his immediate future. This secrecy fuels widespread speculation that Tsarukyan might be fast-tracked for other massive opportunities if the lightweight title picture is unexpectedly delayed. Tsarukyan makes it unequivocally clear that his current
Fucking out of his ass. Remember he said that he got hacked recently. There was someone else recently as well saying they get hacked. It kind of drives me crazy. Anytime someone puts something on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and then they get a little bit of backlash.
participation in grappling and wrestling events is merely a side quest, a safe, profitable way to satisfy his competitive edge and stay active without absorbing the brutal damage of MMA. This strategic career management allows him to maintain elite conditioning and focus without jeopardizing his health. The UFC remains his absolute priority, and these exhibitions are simply a calculated tool to keep him physically and mentally locked on his ultimate goal, the UFC Lightweight Championship. Offering a brutally honest, unfiltered critique of the UFC's American talent pool, Tsarukyan points out a glaring scarcity of genuine, draw-heavy superstars originating from the US. He boldly dismisses prominent names like Michael Chandler and Colby Covington as insignificant when it comes to massive drawing power. This sharp assessment explains the UFC's reliance on established veterans like Justin Gaethje to headline massive pay-per-views. Tsarukyan understands the business landscape, recognizing that Gaethje's value to the promotion makes the upcoming title fight crucial, and his own position as a backup is a vital piece of the UFC's strategic puzzle. Looking toward the future, Tsarukyan firmly believes that a potential clash.
And Alex Pereira has said the same thing in the past, and maybe he'll say the same thing about this. But going back to what I say, Alex Pereira deserves a third shot at the belt. If Tom is on the sidelines right now, and John Jones is actually retired because of all the arthritis in his hips, right? If he is walking away, right, then he is, Alex Pereira, the next guy, the most logical guy. He's done it all at light heavyweight. There isn't really anyone there for him anyway. Yeah, of course, Khalil Roundtree wants another pop. Of course, Yuri Prochazka cried his eyes out just at seeing.
You hear it?
Between himself and Ilia Topuria would be a generational defining moment. Arguably the biggest fight the UFC could assemble in any division. He envisions a battle between two elite, prime athletes representing the new guard of the sport. Predicting a pure 50-50 split among the fan base regarding a potential winner, Tsarukyan frames this theoretical matchup not just as a fight for a belt, but as a monumental passing of the torch that the entire MMA community desperately wants to witness. Tsarukyan provides a highly nuanced, strategic perspective on the rumors of Ilia Topuria moving up to welterweight. While acknowledging it as a brilliant business decision for Topuria to chase the unprecedented glory of becoming a three-division champion, Tsarukyan understands the legacy game perfectly. He recognizes that Topuria's massive ambition could significantly delay their inevitable clash, but respects the magnitude of the attempt, proving Tsarukyan thinks about the sport's overarching historical narratives just as deeply as he thinks about his own immediate paydays. Issuing a direct warning to the established lightweight elite, Tsarukyan declares himself the undisputed future.
And Yuri's one of my favorite fighters, okay? But he has been beaten twice, and realistically, at light heavyweight, Pereira's done it all. And the man is gigantic for 205. He would probably walk around 240 pounds. He could put a bit of muscle on, walk around at 250, and go knock the out of almost everyone at light heavyweight.
Alex Pereira,
king of the division. He expresses genuine frustration with the UFC's tendency to continually award title shots to the old guys like Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. This isn't mere arrogance. It is a profound belief that the division desperately requires fresh blood at the absolute summit. Tsarukyan views himself as the monarch waiting in the wings, fully prepared to violently dethrone the old guard and usher in a new, dominant era for the 155-pound weight class. When discussing a hypothetical grappling match with Colby Covington, Tsarukyan's supreme confidence borders on outright dismissiveness. He categorizes Covington as easy money, framing the former interim champion not as an elite wrestler, but as an aging athlete who spends more time drinking beer and resting on his laurels than properly training. This isn't just standard trash talk, it's Tsarukyan showcasing absolute faith in his own grappling prowess, a skill set he knows will be the ultimate trump card when he eventually faces elite strikers in UFC title bouts. Tsarukyan's external grappling matches are built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding with the UFC brass. He openly states that if the promotion ever ordered him to stop his wrestling side quests, he would comply if
Round all over the place, pa 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 pa. But you know, he's very light on the feet, you know, and he's very French, and he's got the flair, and he's got the ballet, and he's got the pa 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 pa. He's got the punch you in the face. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I've lost the plot. I've been sitting here by myself in this room, losing my goddamn mind because Alex Pereira is gonna fight for a third belt. The only person to ever do it. That will mean he is by far the most successful person to ever step foot in the UFC's hallowed octagon. What do you think? Am I crazy? Am I talking out of my arse? How do you feel about Tom? And if you're watching this, Tom, just ignore all the shit online.
They called
immediately. The fact that the UFC permits these activities acts as a massive green light, signaling that they trust his judgment and professionalism. The promotion clearly views his outside competition not as a dangerous distraction, but as an intelligent method for their top contender to stay sharp and maintain public visibility while awaiting his championship opportunity. Showcasing a ruthless analytical eye, Sarukian offers a brutal assessment of Max Holloway, stating that the legendary Hawaiian is effectively done as an elite force following recent performances. While harsh, this critique reveals the cutthroat mentality required to survive at the top of MMA. Sarukian is constantly evaluating the entire landscape of the sport, across multiple weight classes, identifying the exact moments when legendary fighters begin to fade, proving he is a hyper-focused observer always searching for a weakness to exploit. Sarukian's fight IQ shines brightest when he aggressively critiques pure strikers who lack elite wrestling defense. He specifically references the shock of watching Charles Oliveira, a fighter primarily known for his jiu-jitsu guard rather than offensive takedowns, easily take down top-tier opponents like it was a wrestling masterclass. Sarukian uses this observation to highlight the fundamental flaw of being one-dimensional in modern MMA. He subtly warns the division that if
the levels of greatness that you have, they could never dream about it. So if you talk shit online, just ignore all them. They don't matter. But Alex Pereira, right? In the meantime, if Tom is on the sidelines for a while, which it looks like it is, in the meantime, there's an opportunity for Alex Pereira. Would it be Cyril Gane? It would have to be Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was fighting for the belt against Tom. Yes, he poked him in the eye. Yes, he was the person that committed the foul. And yes, he might be the guy that gets rewarded with another major title fight, right? And
You're witnessing history.
the MMA world is buzzing as Alex Pereira, the man who has already conquered 2 divisions, officially declares his intent to move to heavyweight. Dana White describes Pereira as a savage and an absolute stud, noting that the fighter doesn't care about the opponent or timing, he just wants to fight. His rapid rise to stardom is attributed to his relentless desire to finish fights and compete. Pereira has confirmed that he is not interested in warm-up fights or slowly climbing the heavyweight ladder. He is laser-focused on Tom Aspinall's championship belt. This move is framed as a calculated power play for immortal status, bypassing the brutal weight cuts of the light heavyweight division to challenge the raw mass and grappling threats of the heavyweight giants. Stepping into the land of giants presents a unique challenge for Pereira. While his striking is surgical and elite, there are questions about whether his knockout power will carry the same weight against behemoths who outweigh him by 40 pounds. The octagon is expected to test his fight IQ and adaptability as he faces opponents who hit like a charging rhino. Rumors suggest that the UFC asked Tom Aspinall to vacate his title while he recovered from surgery, but Aspinall reportedly countered.
well, we live in, right? It's not a fair world sometimes, okay? And some people might think that's crazy. But as I said before, the show still goes on. What do you think about everything that I just said? Do you think Alex Pereira will be fighting for a third belt? Or am I 1, 2, 3 times out of my goddamn mind? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. The dog's barking. It's time to wrap this video up. Shut up, Ford!
You think
This is cited as evidence of his elite fight IQ and unbreakable will. The UFC is currently leaning heavily into spectacle matchups, with fans and promoters alike looking for massive cross-divisional fights. Whether it's John Jones versus Alex Pereira or Pereira versus Cyril Gane for an interim title, the goal is to create global events that push the sport forward. Pereira's move isn't just a weight class jump, it's described as an unapologetic declaration of war. For a man who cuts weight heavily to make 205 pounds, the shift to heavyweight is a liberation. Targeting the reigning top champion immediately is seen as an extreme championship mindset. Tom Aspinall has expressed a complicated relationship with the sport, stating that while he loves MMA, he hates the business because fighters are often viewed as replaceable. This adds psychological depth to his upcoming defense. Pereira's entry into heavyweight is described as a psychological bomb for Aspinall's camp. His unshakable belief and championship mentality are said to challenge opponents before they even enter the cage. While the business side of the UFC promotes stars and storylines, the reality inside the cage is different. Once the door closes, legacy and hype don't matter, only performance. Pereira must prove his striking can survive the power of a natural heavyweight champion like Aspinall. The fight business continues regardless of injuries or setbacks. The UFC will keep booking major fights because the show must go on, independent of individual circumstances. Pereira's move is sending shockwaves through the heavyweight division. After nearly killing himself to make 205 pounds, a fully unburdened Pereira bringing his knockout power to heavyweight is a terrifying prospect for the entire division. With John Jones potentially retiring due to health issues and Pereira having cleared out top contenders at light heavyweight, the move to heavyweight is seen as a logical step. He is reportedly walking around at a much heavier weight, making a jump to heavyweight feasible. Free from the harsh weight cut, Pereira is described as rejuvenated and more dangerous than ever. The question is whether Aspinall, or any heavyweight, can handle his power and pressure. If Pereira succeeds, he could become the first fighter in UFC history to win belts in 3 different weight classes. This would place him among the greatest legends in combat sports history and solidify an unprecedented legacy.